SaaS Backwards is sponsored by Austin Lawrence Group, specializing in demand gen for SaaS. It sure is noisy. I deleted 100 emails from vendors just this morning. Your buyer has gotten better at ignoring you, and you're gonna need a big idea if you want to cut through all that clutter. Austin Lawrence is just the right agency to help you find it. So if your campaigns are falling on deaf eyeballs, let's talk. Visit austinlawrence.com today and let's build something bigger.
Welcome to the SaaS Backwards podcast, where we reverse engineer the success of fast-growing SaaS firms and explore strategies CMOs and CEOs are using to drive their businesses forward.
Welcome to SaaS Backwards, a podcast that helps SaaS CMOs and CEOs to accelerate growth and enhance profitability. Our guest today is Ted Hawksford, CEO of LiquidPlanner, a SaaS smart project management software that uses predictive, resource-driven scheduling to help teams do their best work and achieve their goals with confidence. Hey, Ted, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Ken. I'm happy to be here.
Great to have you. And before we dig in, could you please just tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and your company?
I'm happy to. As Ken mentioned, Ted Hawksford, I lead LiquidPlanner. We are a project management and planning software, so B2B into the marketplace. We've been around since 2007, really designed and defined by our founder, Charles Siebold, and his partner, Jason Carlson, to solve problems that existed with project management and weren't being addressed well. A lot of people manage projects on Excel or Google Sheets or in Outlook, and none of the project solutions in the marketplace that are built for purpose are predictive. And so as Ken just introduced, ours is, and that makes us unique. It enables real-time planning, real-time scenario modeling, and confidence around what outcomes will be and depending upon how resources are allocated. And so we do some unique things in the marketplace that enable us to deliver higher value.
Well, we come together at an interesting time in this company's life, and you've been CEO for a few years now, right?
That's correct. I joined the company in 2019, so just celebrated my 4-year anniversary, or we call it actually a planiversary because we plan.
A planiversary. Well, you planned to get here.
Indeed.
And interestingly, the company was just sold. Could you tell us a little bit about that? You've been working on this for some time, and it would be great to understand the thought process that went into it, like why you decided to sell the company.
Right. Yeah, happy to. LiquidPlanner did well in the marketplace. We achieved some good growth. We have a portfolio of almost 1,000 customers. But what's happened in the marketplace is that our competition has been very well funded, and surviving as an independent entity became difficult. So that motivated the board to begin considering an exit. What was more important, though, is that customers, users of our product, and prospects certainly are expecting a broader platform. No one wants to work in a software island. It's less efficient, it can be cumbersome, and transitioning from project to project can be more difficult. And so we began to look for a partner that could help us accelerate our roadmap relative to integrations. And Tempo emerged as just that partner.
And are they in the same business as LiquidPlanner?
They're in a complementary business. So Tempo has grown up with timesheets solution, and of course that is relevant to our resource management. They have acquired products like RoadMonk, which does longer term planning and scenario modeling, as well as Structure that organizes work across teams. And so those 3 products plus LiquidPlanner make what we believe will be a really nice strategic portfolio management combination. And what's more, Tempo has grown up as part of the Atlassian marketplace or ecosystem. And we've had our customers ask us for a long time to integrate directly with Jira and other Atlassian products. And this will very much accelerate our path towards delivering that. of course, in partnership with the other Tempo portfolio companies.
So there's multiple things actually at work here. Was the ability to integrate more broadly, but also a pretty powerful initial family of products and what can become a suite, and as well its connectivity to Atlassian, which has a pretty big footprint of its own.
It does. All of those are really exciting. And this acquisition by Tempo of LiquidPlanner, or merger, is less than 3 weeks old. So we, of course, are still defining and pursuing operational integrity around what we envisioned as we began the discussions and, of course, completed the merger.
Sure, it's going to be a little while for the vision to be realized, but you can start laying that out for your mutual and unique clients and kind of recruit them into the vision and even help you sort of map out what that might look like.
That's exactly right. In fact, we're already pursuing customer feedback on, when we talk about a Jira integration, what is really needed, what capabilities, what information flows, what reporting or analytics. And importantly, what we're hearing is portfolio management. So while many products in the marketplace serve a project or a team well, not many of them serve managing more complex combinations of projects or portfolios of projects that might include hundreds of projects and thousands or tens of thousands of tasks and how they overlap across an enterprise. So that is what we're squarely focused on, delivering better than anyone else does in the market.
And that plays to the strength of LiquidPlanner, right? It was already a pretty high-end solution.
That's right. Yeah, it was built to deliver better project management capabilities and confidence to project teams that simpler solutions struggle to do. And so, yeah, you're right in acknowledging that we were positioned with intention, sort of at the high end of the market, serving complex project management needs. And we continue to aspire to do so.
So when we talked before, you said this was a good but not a great outcome. And that must have required some salesmanship on your part to get everybody, all the stakeholders and shareholders, to feel okay to good about it. Can you talk a little bit about that? And as a CEO, when you realize this is the best choice and it's not the dream scenario, how do you sell that to the people you need to bring along, either as employees or other stakeholders and shareholders?
Well, as they say, timing is everything. When we achieved board approval to pursue at least exploration for an exit, the market was stronger. Outcomes and valuations were more generous than what we found as we got close to finalizing a deal. And that depressed what the outcome is in terms of a financial benefit to investors and shareholders, and of course, employees as well. All startups aspire to a 10x valuation and really aggressive outcome. Not many achieve it. Doing a simple Google search will reveal that it's probably less than 10%. And in fact, lots of SaaS companies fail along the way. So, when I'm self-critical of our outcome, it is relative to the financial outcome, but we can be very proud of the product we built and the fact that we have a 16-year legacy already, and that is being extended into the future. Achieving, support and commitment to this particular outcome was more about looking into the future. Where are the things that were inhibiting LiquidPlanner growth and acceleration of our aspiration to serve the marketplace? And how did that align with a prospective partner? And when Tempo emerged, it was very clear that this merger is mutually beneficial. And the outcome that we could achieve together is not just duplicative, it's probably multiplicative. I think we can together multiply the benefit that we deliver to our customers, to prospects that are in the market looking for a solution. And I think that will result in an outsized next outcome for employees and investors. And as an independent entity, those are things that LiquidPlanner was struggling to achieve: growth and profitability. And so, you can get away with that in some market scenarios and under some market conditions, but access to money got tighter over the last year. And demand for profitability and good EBITDA also is emerging as a more important component of outcomes. And those are things that together with Tempo, we can deliver with confidence. And in fact, Tempo already is achieving. So that is a really healthy place for the LiquidPlanner team and each of our employees to be. And it doesn't take long to sort of survey the marketplace and see that even really strong technology companies are tightening the belt and laying off our team. As part of Tempo, we have no plans to do that. In fact, we're adding resources to the team.
Well, that's really a great outcome for everybody. And I guess we should say congratulations, because it was a bit of a journey.
It was a journey. I hadn't sold a company before. As part of larger organizations, I've been on the acquisition side a number of times. In retrospect, of course, as business professionals, we learn every day. And this was an opportunity for professional development and exposure to a part of a transaction I had never been exposed to before. It's a lot harder than I would have expected. And I really admire those that play the M&A game every day. It's taxing, but it's also exciting. And particularly when the outcome is like what we have achieved, the opportunity that it represents is what helps you get through the difficult journey of the acquisition deal making itself.
Were there specific things you learned or were uncovered about how LiquidPlanner was organized or doing its business that, would be good lessons to share with others preparing for a sale?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ken. We had good accounting practices. So we had clean books, and that made it easier. If anybody listening to this podcast feels like their books could use a little bit of fit and finish, certainly invest in doing that before a transaction. But the diligence required to collect everything's required in discovery is intense, and it's nothing short of that. Every detail is scrutinized. We've had the same auditor in place for 4 years, but our auditors were shoulder to shoulder with us in providing insights and information to support the transaction and provide evidence that our books indeed are clean. Customers were engaged, and so maintaining good relationships with customers so that you can lean on some to validate that what we do is indeed what we say it is to the prospective buyer. And even team members were interviewed as part of this process. And so a lot of deal making sort of happens in the shadows and is only announced when things are official to a team. Luckily, we had a very transparent relationship and information flow across LiquidPlanner prior to this deal. And so it made engaging our team as the deal advanced a lot better. And in fact, we didn't suffer any attrition of talent during the process or subsequent to the announcement. And going into it, we were worried that that might be a challenge. But all of those things are things that I would encourage people looking at potentially pursuing an exit to look harder at and really invest to strengthen prior to getting too far along in the process. And so that's, it's your books and all the financials, it's the customer relationships and all the detail, and it's the team and the strength of communications.
Interesting. Why don't we turn our attention to a little bit more detail on the integrations and how Tempo's going to facilitate that, and maybe segue from there into what customers are telling you about how they see the future. So I think the integration is a big part of what you were seeking in a near-term future, and it'd be great to understand how that's playing out.
Yeah, you bet. First and foremost, and I alluded to it earlier, an integration with Jira is something that all of our technology customers in particular are looking forward to. And because Tempo has expertise in that space, really close alignment and relationship with the Atlassian ecosystem, they will definitely help us accelerate pursuit of that. In fact, just at the tail end of working out a deal, we did a very lightweight proof of concept. Our dev team and their dev team got together to build something that could illustrate that this is indeed possible to the investment committee that approved the deal. And so we've taken that and now we're operationalizing it. Effectively, a handful of senior developers from both teams are working on that particular integration. Jira has a number of other integrations that are already deployed across their solutions, and the teams that built those are going to lean in to help our team do the same. And so, past experience translates to confidence and competence, and these integrations, I think, will be much easier to deploy together than they would have been for us independently.
So this is kind of interesting. Sounds like you guys were kind of dancing together before the deal. And I imagine there wasn't a lot of knowledge about the potential for the transaction among all these people who were working on it. But it must have been a really interesting laboratory to see how the teams would do together, as well as like you have this business idea that the businesses could fit. But did this give people confidence on the cultural side as well?
Culture is always a really important consideration. Having been part of a larger entity in the past and acquiring a number of other small companies, many of those small companies suffered to integrate successfully, largely due to culture, whether it was politics and bureaucracy that exists in a large company, or just work styles and behaviors that sort of translate from company to company, and sometimes don't translate well, and they result in conflict or frustration. And sometimes it's just perception. People make career choices according to where they feel they will fit best. And often, as the saying goes, you leave a supervisor and not a company. So sometimes it's who you report to in the new entity. All of these things were considerations. And so, as I think your question was pointed at, working together before the deal was consummated in this way or that meaningfully was a bit scary, right? We were going to put developers together that prior to being asked to work together only knew that a deal was sort of in the works, not exactly with who or not exactly how and what. And, we provided enough explanation and asked for enough confidence and confidentiality that we were comfortable that we could do this. What emerged was actually a lot of excitement. Developers like to work on cool, new, cutting-edge stuff. They like to advance their own product beyond what usually is very possible. And what these two teams discovered is that the integration would be more robust than I think either party was anticipating it could be prior to working together. And so, the result is just two brilliant teams achieving magic together. And we're really excited about operationalizing that now. But for sure, as your question suggested, we were nervous going into it. Luckily, the outcome was positive.
Well, so, the maxim is no risk, no reward. So here you had a chance for these folks to create a little magic and carry that into this future relationship together. I think that's pretty cool and a little unusual.
From experience, I could say it is unusual. And, we can only hope that all the outcomes of our collaboration going forward will be as positive as this one appears to be. That's probably wishful thinking, but it's certainly what we aspire to.
But the dynamic is established, right? Which is really important.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. And it's a great way to start. In fact, as soon as we got the thumbs up from the dev teams and their leadership that this was actually going to work, a video was created, it's been shared, and that video was so strong that it's really guiding us to complete the next steps of the integration. So the outcome couldn't have been better.
That's fun. Hey, we didn't touch on customer feedback since the announcement. How's this been received by customers of both firms?
There had been periodic requests from both prospects that we didn't sign and customers that are part of our current portfolio. And these requests at times mentioned, hey, we would be interested in integration with Tempo. Any plans for LiquidPlanner to do that? Those customers are understandably and predictably really excited about this. They've been hoping for it or asking for it for some time. We're being exposed to new prospects in the marketplace that have seen the news and are either pursuing us via Tempo or Tempo via us. And so there has been some acceleration and expansion of opportunity as a result of this merger already. There are other customers that we have in our portfolio in particular that aren't engineering or technology oriented. And that is by and large what the marketplace that Tempo has served. LiquidPlanner has a much more diverse portfolio of customers. It includes manufacturing, there are marketing and consulting and creative firms. There are schools and jurisdictions and municipalities, really in 42 countries around the world that are counted amongst our customers. And so they look at this maybe just with raised eyebrows, not concerned because they know that LiquidPlanner delivers unique value and we offer something that truly is differentiated in the marketplace that they can't get anywhere else. But they wonder if there is any value to them, or in some cases, they're not at all concerned because they don't feel like it's very relevant to how they use our product or what they'll be exposed to as a result of the merger. If there's any concern, it's just, will LiquidPlanner product change as a result of being part of a larger entity? Will the priorities change relative to our roadmap and features and benefits that we've expressed to them that we're working on? And the answer is no. We think, in fact, our capacity to serve a broader range and even more diverse portfolio of customers in the future will be expanded as a result of this, not narrowed in any way.
That's awesome. Sounds like it's almost like a triple win. Everybody's coming out pretty okay here. That's as good as an outcome as you could hope for, I think.
I think so. And it's probably okay that I reveal this as well. Tempo has had the immense benefit of growing up alongside and as part of, as you mentioned before, a really broad and successful Atlassian ecosystem, and has benefited so much, in fact, from that their focus on growing outside of that ecosystem has been limited. Of course, that has been where the majority of our growth is. Independent growth pursued organically through the broad marketplace. And so we, I think, represent a bit of a hedge against the Atlassian marketplace for Tempo, or an opportunity to, expand their product services and expose them to components of the market other than sort of what Atlassian delivers.
Fair enough. Just in case people aren't completely aware of the category, what the competitive landscape is and maybe how you're positioned now against that, given the merger.
Yeah, so our competitive landscape has been largely oriented to where people do project work. Now, the majority of it continues to be with products like Excel or Google Sheets. You organize tasks and people and timelines and, even build sort of a rudimentary Gantt chart in tools like that. Many people use a notebook and sticky notes still to manage their work day to day and week to week and even month to month. Tools like OKRs have emerged to set strategic goals or priorities and objectives, and then measure progress and assign work accordingly. And then there are built for purpose tools: Smartsheet, Trello, Asana, Wrike, Monday.com, ClickUp, Airtable, PlanView. The list goes on and on. In fact, if you look at G2 or Software Advice, you can find hundreds of such companies that are delivering solutions like what LiquidPlanner does. What makes us different is our predictive capability. It's a scheduling engine that was built that leverages Monte Carlo simulations to predict outcomes with a very high degree of accuracy. In fact, we've studied and scientifically proven it's 92% confidence is delivered when you use our tool and assign resources and track work as we intend. And so to answer your question, Ken, it's a crowded marketplace. There are a lot of project management tools that can be deployed. There is only one, LiquidPlanner, that delivers this predictive outcome capability and the insights and the confidence around making plans and then adapting those plans in real time when change occurs. And as we all know, change happens always. And so it's tough to manually update an Excel spreadsheet, particularly a complex one. You really need a tool like ours to do that kind of work and adapt to today's pace of change that teams struggle with.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I find the project management space like so frothy, as it's so rife with solutions. It's almost impossible to make a good choice. And I think I mentioned to you, I'm between project management systems now myself, and have never really found a home. So I think I can really relate to especially larger organizations that have complex requirements, feeling that they really don't have a lot of good choices. And hopefully we've exposed them to LiquidPlanner here a little bit.
That would be a win for us for sure, and maybe for you. Some exposure personally. You could take our product for a trial run and see if it can work. Just like any software, there's a learning curve, and to get full value requires investment. And the investment isn't just from the advocate or the champion, the buyer, if you will. Adoption needs to happen across a team, all participants in the workspace or across the project or portfolio projects. And to the degree a whole team is utilizing the software as it's intended, the value extracted is significantly higher. And so that's where I think the best companies out there have customer success teams deployed, have learning and adoption tooling that's automated, built into their platform to make that path from adoption to mastery easier and faster. Because at the end of the day, software is an expense. And unless you're extracting value and a return on that investment, then it's not delivering what you bought it to deliver. And so finding the right fit is part of it. Hopefully choosing a company that enables success and supports that success, I think, is another part of it.
Absolutely.
So I'd encourage you and anyone listening to the podcast to ask those questions when you're considering a software purchase.
Fair enough. Hey, last question, my new favorite one. Looking back over 4 years, what would you do differently being the CEO at LiquidPlanner?
Wow, that's a good question. There's so much I would do differently. I think I'd start faster with learning our product myself and using it, because I'd also want to start faster with engaging more of our customers. It is such a competitive landscape, as I've been talking about, that getting to know what your customer needs are, their frustrations are the things that open my eyes to the opportunities in the future and would have informed our strategic direction faster and more thoroughly. I think that would also have led me to get more aggressive about expanding our development team to build the features and capabilities and integrations faster that I think would have opened up doors for us in the marketplace. And, once those things are done, it's marketing and sales. Go to market is tough, especially when the competitive landscape is so robust. And I've learned marketing sort of along the way. I've also developed huge admiration for the analytics required to make good marketing decisions and investments. And so it really starts with product, then customer, then building so that we can sell. So it's that whole journey. I would have tried to accelerate my own learning curve there so I could make better decisions along the way.
Wow, that's great clarity that you bring to it in retrospect, and really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. Hey, Ted, this was a great episode. I think it's a perfect place to land. If people want to learn more about your company or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, they could visit www.liquidplanner.com or now tempo.io would be a great place to go. We'll be at the Atlassian Teams 23 conference in April. Come visit us in the booth if you happen to be there.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. If you're listening and you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, you can do so almost everywhere podcasts are distributed. And if you want to reach me, I'm on LinkedIn/in/Ken Limpet or at austinlawrence.com. Hey, Ted, thanks so very much for being a great guest here on the podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the SaaS Backwards podcast, brought to you by Austin Lawrence Group. We're a growth marketing agency that helps SaaS firms reduce churn, accelerate sales, and generate demand. Learn more about us at www.austinlawrence.com. You can email Ken Limpet at kl@austinlawrence.com about any SaaS marketing or customer retention subject. We hope you'll subscribe, and thanks again for listening.